Yeah.
I'll come down if we need to.
Who's there?
What?
Are we doing facilities first?
Yes, we do. We have finance and facilities.
She's on the phone. No. I just looking at my notes.
Yeah.
6:30.
Wait, 6:30 for facilities?
Oh,
I'm leaving, that's what I was wondering.
My
Five
apologies.
thirty is
My
finance,
apologies.
6:30 is facilities.
I will, I'll be back. I'm taking a walk.
See you guys.
Oh,
Thank you.
okay, that's fine.
Oh my gosh.
All right, thanks.
Sarah.
All right, good night.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, it was real noisy when you were talking before. You said you were coming in Percy's place? Oh, okay, you don't have to do that. We'll just mark your message.
Percy wants to be called.
I don't want you to have to run out for no reason.
You got the nervous there?
No,
Don't we have to send all that?
we're doing live streams, so that's how we can call people and call them.
Okay. Bye-bye. Percy's not today.
She wanted to call in.
I wanted to call in.
I told him again, Tanya to call, I thought Tanya was gonna be here.
Oh, okay, Tanya was just calling to say, does she have to run over here?
No,
We'll
I
get
thought
to-
she was here,
No,
so I told him to ask her to call, just call in, but he could've called you to tell you to call. Because that's not, Zoom. That's, the live stream,
oh,
so you can't participate in that.
oh, okay. So,
Call in.
yeah, call Kim or call Tanya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would you say yes to both to call
Call
Tanya?
Percy.
Call Percy.
If Tanya's not supposed to be here, call her.
His mailbox is full and he's not answering. Can Tanya be here if he's got a vice president?
Okay. No, she's not.
Yeah. So do we have to have him here to be able to live stream?
No, it's live streaming now.
Oh, okay.
We're live now.
Oh, I thought we had to have him here, I was like, wait. Okay, let's see, I think we got a form, let's see. Finance. We have Linda. We have Greg.
Kelly?
Okay, we have a form, we can get started. Okay, it's 5:38, and we're calling the meeting to order. The mission of the International High School is to educate and nurture a diverse learning community through the International Baccalaureate program, languages, and intercultural appreciation to succeed in the global economy. We're going to record the attendance now. Karen Dwyer, Crystal Walker, Kelly Wolf, to approve the minutes of the finance committee meetings. We have, three meetings we have to approve. We're gonna, do them all at once. May 7th, 2024, June 5th, 2024, and the special meeting that was held on June 26th, 24. If anyone has any changes, or additions, subtractions, let me know before we vote. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of those three meetings? One second.
I second.
All in favor? I'm sorry, public discussion? Any public? No. All in favor? Aye. Okay, the next, we're gonna review and vote to confirm the meeting dates of this committee. This committee meets more often than the others because we have some special requirements, mostly surrounding the budget and budget approval. So, I have the meeting dates listed as September 25th, which is tonight, November 27th, 24th, December 18th.
Wait, can you slow down so I can write it? I'm sorry. 9:25.
It's
It's on,
already,
it's on,
Oh,
it's on the agenda.
yeah.
You don't have to read that.
December 18th, and, that one is just prior to our full board meeting, and, that's to make a recommendation for the budget. Right, for the meeting. And then we have January 22nd of 25, March 26th of 25, April 23rd of 25, May 28th of 25, and then June 11th, again, prior to the board meeting for the budget. So I'd like a recommendation to, confirm, all of our meeting dates.
Can we make an adjustment to, December 18th, it says budget recommendation, though it should be audit. And,
Yeah, we're gonna be making a recommendation for audit.
and then, the 27th, we actually changed to, November 27th, we changed to the Tuesday of the week before, which is, the week before. The 19th? Yes, we changed to the 19th. We'll have the 19th for finance and facilities and the 28th for academics and government. Yes, still same time. We changed it because it's originally scheduled during Thanksgiving.
Can you please repeat the adjustment to the first part? You adjusted the what?
Right now, December says that it is a budget recommendation vote. It needs to be changed to an audit.
Okay.
And then November 27th has been changed to November 19th.
Okay, so, the motion's been amended for those two dates, so do I have a motion to accept the changes?
Second.
Okay. Any public discussion? All in favor?
Oh, sorry, one more.
Repeat that.
April 23rd is during, spring break, the school closed. I'm trying to remember from the retreat, if you picked the date, let me go back.
It was December 3rd and December 4th.
It was which one?
It was December 3rd for academics and December 4th for because the first day had to go, I went to, pushed it back a week after that.
Oh, we pushed it up, because academics is on the 20th. Let me see. I'm going back to,
Yeah, academic was the 20th, and then I wrote down the other academic was on December 3rd.
Yeah, because you said someone had on November, yeah.
And then finance was December. Yeah, so the third one is what I wrote down.
How about we make a motion to reschedule the April 23rd meeting after administration has time to double check the calendar? And Need a motion? Okay, and a second?
We're fine on either one, it's up to the committee to determine which date they want.
Oh, okay. Well, what 2 days are you suggesting instead of April 23rd? I can't.
We have a full board meeting on the sixteenth.
So it can't be the sixteenth, either the thirtieth, well, it has to be before the full board meeting. Either the sixteenth or the thirtieth.
I prefer it not to be on April 15th, but that's all.
No, 16th.
16th.
Yeah, would you prefer it not to be on the sixteenth? I know that's that's your break right there, so that means you would have to be prepared for during the 15th. So the 30th?
The 30th is better for me. Anybody else? Okay, so we're gonna amend that
It's Monday.
motion to remove the April 23rd, meeting and reschedule it for the 30th of 2025, April 30th. I have a motion and a second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay. Next on the agenda is a review of our financial reports. And Emily's gonna go over the next 5 items.
Go ahead.
So with the, unfortunately, Edox is not able to be with us. So they sent us the financials for the end of the year, June 30th, 2024. Showing, and then pretty much just on the executive side, just some of the highlights that they had is that we're yielding a net income of $436,000, which is better than what was budgeted. But then, of course, that number's gonna drop again because we just got an invoice from Lower Public School for the insurance for the 23-24 school year. That was $112,000. So that amount will drop. And then while we're going through the audits, there's still some expenses that were incurred in the 23-24 school year that was paid in July and in August. So those will then show back when they're, on the pool, so I'm correct in saying that. And then therefore, our, net income for the end of the school year will be down, fingers crossed. With the ESSER 3, those funds have to be obligated by September 30th, which is just around the corner. We got our second reimbursement of the $226,000, and we're working on having the remainder of the funds, which is approximately also another 200,000 plus. That some of that money we have already expensed it. It's just a matter of pulling out all those receipts and everything to submit the reimbursement. But the goal here is by September 30th is to obligate all those funds. We are on track to spend all that, and then we'll have up until December 16th to submit final reimbursements to the business funds, plus also submit the expense. The first, which is first.
Will the gavel go into last fiscal year?
No, that piece will be in this fiscal.
And then the last piece about that is the closing out. The total available cash, $745,000. And this is all the numbers, like you can speak to that, like when they're saying cash balance of $745,000. I guess when I'm looking at the cash in the bank, and I know we have
I think they
expenses.
include your cash balance. Just something we need to talk about.
But otherwise, the information that had in front of us was what was presented by Edox to us. But compared to what we were looking like and everything, and you can see that the board is gonna be a number 3 and not a negative.
lots of graphs and colors.
Right. And then these are just graphs that they show you pretty much on the cash on hand, how much cash we have based on the number of days. And so far, the school has been doing very well, but.
And I just think, just to clarify what you said on that last ESSER fund, we have to December, we don't want to wait till December. It's a couple $100,000 cash flow existence. Hopefully,
Not really.
hopefully, in October, we can go down to
Sorry. Just don't let me fall. Okay, now you can hear her. Sorry.
The supporting documentation is just pretty much from July through June, just the expenses and the income of the revenue line, right, items from the different grants we received, and then also the expenses, again, by line item in the different categories.
I think at upset, the majority of the reason why it was better than anticipated was that New Orleans Public Schools made a end of the year adjustment to the MFP that was favorable. So the MFP turned out to be higher, and there was another submission of ESSER that wasn't included the last time at upset put together a forecast. I think those are the big things that made it different from the last report.
And then also looking back at the budget, like in some areas, we did not spend as much as we had budgeted because some of those positions, like staffing position, didn't start from the beginning of the school year. They started either a couple of months later. That also impacted the benefits, which is the two biggest expense is labor cost and also benefits. So when teachers will start coming middle of the year or not 3 months later, that salary is prorated, but then the budget didn't actually show the full amount. Any other questions?
So how about, how far along are they with the audit? Like,
The audit will, they moved the date to August 16th, I wanna say, is the audit.
to
But they-
start?
But they've already started reviewing, the files that are available, including asking access into EGMS for all the grants, to see the funds, so. Any questions that have come at us have reached out to us to provide supporting documentation. But that is, I know Mindy has already started looking into some things and have requested information.
I think if I understand what Derek has said on the phone call, they have the numbers now. So any of these things like the insurance that Ken we referred to, they're going to forward those to the auditors as adjustments for the audit. So I think they must have trial balances already.
And you did send something about the Louisiana compliance questionnaire, the audit engagement?
Yes, so that form's completed, and I guess it's attached to the agenda, that I completed it for the current school, for the past school year. But it will need to be, brought to the board and signed up by the secretary, president, and the treasurer.
And what was that? I'm sorry, that's the one Louisiana.
Louisiana compliance questionnaire.
Okay, so are we ready to, recommend that actually, we're looking at the July and August, financials be recommended to the full board. We normally don't recommend the June until the audit is done.
because that would require, year to year having that increase. But what they're doing is they're saying, okay, well, we'll give a stipend to, the employees there. So we have, a document that outlines, the stipend information. So it's $2,000 for, certificated staff, which is not certified teachers, but it's staff who requires to get to be in their position. And then there's the other side, which is the support staff, and they get $1,000. The stipends have to be paid out by December 15th. So what we are doing, since we have to get this approved by the board, we want to recommend it to the finance committee, so that, on October 16th, they can be approved and we can, start to give the funds out, on October 30th for the first half and December 13th for the second half. So we would just like to present that to you so that we can, get a vote on it.
Okay, so, I need a motion to recommend that we accept this, certificated and support staff stipends as prescribed by the state of Louisiana or Department of Education. Is that enough?
I have one more if you want to put it all together, because it's all part of stipends.
Sure.
The other piece is the differentiated compensation stipend. So along with the funds for, certificated and non-certificated, or certificated and support staff, the state is also providing, a one-time stipend, to schools, that's differentiated based on, some criteria. The criteria include, either being at a high needs school, working in a high needs area, which would be special education, assignment or not. And being highly effective on their, conference certification. And so we have, a differentiated compensation allocation, policy procedure. It's the same one that was approved by the board last year, we just updated it with the dates. It gives a specific amount of money that would be, distributed to individuals who meet those particular qualifications. So this is a high need school, so everybody will receive that amount. But teachers who qualify for, being in the critical shortage area, so math, science, SPED, they will receive an additional 200. Teachers who are rated highly effective will receive an additional 300. Teachers who are eligible, in a high need school, which is the school, will receive an additional 200. And then those who, I forgot about this one, those who are in full-time, teachers who are in full-time leadership will receive an additional $100 on top. So, if you have a teacher leader who is, let's say, in science, is a SPED teacher and has highly effective, then all of those would add up to give that person, a larger stipend. So that is the differentiated compensation allocation.
So that's in addition to.
That's in addition to the 2,000.
Okay, so our motion is to recommend to the board they accept the certificate and supportive staff stipends and the differentiated support staff compensation allocation.
The differentiated compensation allocation.
Need a motion?
I motion.
A second? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, we have, next on the agenda is, updates on, related matters for the finance committee.
Sorry, don't mean to interrupt again.
Go ahead.
We still have the August financials that we need to review.
Oh, I thought we did. Okay.
I'm gonna turn it over to Mike Down.
Mhm.
So, again, this is gonna look different than what you, would have gotten from that, so we can talk more about format going forward. Changing, what we try to do is put together a one-page summary, and then there's, detailed pages behind. But, yeah, basically, right now it shows, through August, $48,000 surplus versus a year-to-date budget of $28,000. I will say that, in the first couple of months of the year, I find that the expenses aren't very indicative of much of anything. Like, I feel like because sometimes there's front-loaded expenses in the year, and as Emily said, there may be some things that are now in these numbers that are gonna end up getting reclassified for last year, although I don't know that it's material. I think, once we have the September numbers, we're gonna have a much better feel for what the expense trends look like. But, and this is missing some things, like we didn't have, the food service, the busing we included yet, those bills hadn't been in yet. So it may look like you're drastically underspending, but I think there's other things that we just didn't have to approve yet. I think all that stuff will get caught up once we get into September. But, having reviewed everything, I didn't see any, major red flags, on the spending yet. We're still trying to work out how we code some of the salaries and things like that. So I didn't show all the salary details because I think we have things in different categories versus the budget. So that's something we have to go through, but in total, the salaries are correct, as well as the benefits and everything else. There wasn't any really large things. And I'm gonna be honest, since, we didn't prepare the budget and we don't have a lot of history of how the spending gets spread, I did my best to try to spread it. Like, I don't just take it by 12. I try to use a little bit of intuition, but I don't have enough history to know. So one of the things we talked about, I don't like to talk about my foot in my mouth, but is we did talk about Dr. Berger and Emily and I talked about after October 1st, so maybe the middle of October, doing a budget revision based on the actual student count. We know there's ESSER rollover funds. And to be honest with you, there are some other grant numbers that we need to try to get an understanding on from that ops. So it'll be a good time to look at that and maybe or then change the spread of how the budget hits every month, or some things. So.
Is it possible to get a comparative statement of the history? Because I find it's always good to look at last year to this year.
Sure, so you mean, like show August of 2023? Yeah.
And I had a question on the balance sheet. We have a loan payable of $141,000. Are we making any efforts to pay that off?
Well, that was one of the questions I had, but not so much about that, but understanding some more details about it, to be honest with you.
So the balance that we still have there is the 81,000, we paid 100,000 already. We most of it towards it, there's a balance of 81, and we were waiting on the ESSA funds to come in, but then now we have the funds, the goal is by the end of this month is to pay the remaining balance on the line of credit.
Okay, so when they come in, it'll get paid.
Correct.
And payroll liabilities has a debit balance of $820. That might be something you want to look into to see something's miscoded.
What page can you cover?
It's one of two.
There are a number of things on the
The
balance.
second to last page.
Okay.
There are a number of things on the balance sheet that we need to present out with, and ask to understand how they're doing things, so we're working on putting a list together.
Yeah, because the credit cards are also showing they're overpaid by almost $15,000.
Yeah,
That's probably not right. There might be charges that have not hit the books yet.
yes.
So, before we had switched over to ad hocs, we had a list of, like reports that we receive each month. I can dig those, like samples of those out and send them to you, so you can see what we were used to getting before head ops.
Okay, that'd be
And
great.
not that we need them all, we got used to looking at head ops, but sometimes it's really hard to read because the words there's so many on the page, you can't even see what people type, right?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm not gonna say anything because we're streaming, so.
But the history, as you find, is very helpful, because you can always see where you've been, you know, and compare it, so you know what you can expect. Okay, we're down $5,000 here, we're up $5,000 here from last year. What's going on?
I think, I mean, and so I don't disagree, I think one of the things that's gonna make it hard is that in all the last couple of years, you've had significant ESSER funds, and those aren't gonna be here now, so your spending may have been up because of that. So you're gonna be comparing, and it's gotta know you may have had higher spending last year because you decided to use.
That might be the answer, Thomas, everything.
Yeah, and it would be a good crutch to answer questions that way, but the truth is that probably is a big part of it, you know, yeah. Yeah, so that would be great if you send that, like, I mean, and I'll just be honest, when we prepare reports, I try to keep it simple, in terms of the board, because there's typically, not everybody's, you know, an accountant. And so if they read the first page and the second page, they get the gist of it. If you wanna dig deep, there's more behind it, and I assume that's probably some of the reports that you're talking about. So it's sort of, we kind of did it so it's for non-financial people and financial people, because typically the board isn't filled with accountants. Although they'd be enjoy the party with, but what I was also gonna say is, part of our plan, and this is our first time really going through a month, is going deeper with Dr. Berger and Emily, you know, on a regular basis, talking about this stuff, so, which I don't know how often that happens.
All right, now we can have a motion to vote on the July, August financials.
I motion that we vote on it, that we accept the July and August financials.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, now we're on,
I'm sorry, who did first and second?
we need to update the bank signatures.
I thought it would be simple, just requesting a change form, but no, they came back to say it has to be a motion in the finance committee and documented on the agenda or in the minutes, then I can send that to them, then they'll send me the forms.
Do they need it just from the committee or from the full board?
So they need the original, minutes from the full board naming Percy as chair and, you as treasurer. And then they need the minutes from the finance committee for, the signature, changing the signature. And I'm gonna pull up exactly what he said.
I would be amazed if they didn't want that from the full board. That's
Yeah,
pretty
usually
typical.
they say board resolution.
Yeah, it's usually board resolution, not a kid committee resolution. I mean, you can do both just to be safe, that's what I would recommend.
So he wants the minutes, of the meeting requesting the changes. So that would be this one. So basically what we need is a letter stating that the changes have been made to the board, and also who you would like to be assigned, who to remove on the bank accounts. Once the letter is drawn up, then it needs to have 2 current board signatures before sending it in.
Okay, so we need to make a motion, a recommendation to the full board that we remove Sarita, Jones from, the signature of the accounts and add Percy's already on
What would we add him as a board chair?
it. Add the board chair Percy and the board treasurer Karen.
And we need to sure it says that we're changing, Karen from, president to treasurer, or from board chair to board treasurer.
You wanna read that back, because that sounded very confusing the way I said it.
So I have a motion to remove Smith Rita Jones and changing Karen Dwyer from board chair to treasurer. And then I don't have, what's the next? And move Percy what?
Adding Percy to the account as board chair.
Adding Percy.
And, giving, signature rights to the letter.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, adding Percy to account for chair, right? One chair.
And given signature authority to Percy and Karen.
Thank you.
So somebody wants to do that motion,
All motion.
and I need a second.
That was Grace, I'm sorry, I didn't say
No,
that.
those,
No,
Linda
yeah,
and,
sorry.
Crystal.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, next is an AFR update, and it's not due until September 30th. That's right around the corner.
So when we met with Darius on Monday, he did say they were almost complete and will submit the AFR, by September 30th.
And really, it's just, September 30th is the initial filing. A lot of times we get back and forth between the state on changes. But you have to have that initial one submitted by September 30th.
For the new people in the room, can you explain what the AFR is?
It's the annual financial review, so it's pretty much your budget from the 24-25,
It's not really actually.
but it's all the financial.
It's the actuals, yeah.
The actual expenses
Yeah.
for each line item that has to be summarized in almost 1,000 lines or more.
2,000 lines.
3,000.
So I was working on it all day today for another school. So, yeah, and what it does is it basically shows by in excruciating detail, you know, revenue and expense items, how much is funded by the MFP, how much is funded by the different federal funds. It's really what they measure the school financial at. It's not even so much the audit, quite honestly, because it's in very deep detail.
And we do that quarterly, right? No?
We do the AFR annually.
AFR
We
is.
do a QFR quarterly. Yeah.
Okay. And that gets reported to the Department of Education.
It gets like uploaded into a portal, yeah. What's that? I think it all gets accumulated. I mean, and if you're not meeting certain thresholds, they'll use that and they'll come back to the school and ask questions. Like an example, I'm gonna use something that's drastically hypothetical. But, you know, there's a rule that you have to be spending at least 70% of your MFP on what they call instructional. So let's just say for the sake of argument, we're spending 70% on renting a building or buses. They're gonna say, well, that's not how we want to spend the money. So they don't have that level of detail, so they get this AFR and then, you know, they can look, they can see how much of your MFP is being spent on SPED or gifted and talented or things like that. It's at that level of detail. And if I could just say one other thing. Because of ESSER, the reporting has probably quadrupled, because they asked for separate reports on ESSER. So I would like to say that this would have been the last year, but because we're carrying some over into the current year, we'll have to do that as like a regular report for the entire school, and then they have special reports for the ESSER, just because there's been so much money spent on it. You know, we want to make sure it's being spent appropriately.
Same thing happens with our audit. Because of the requirements, the reporting requirements, our audit has gone to many more pages because they have to report much more.
Yeah.
Okay, next, how about, we talk about EdOps transition?
We're starting following the phone call with Darius on Monday. We're gonna prepare for them a list of questions that both Mike besides all the bank reconciliations that they've done, also with the posting, because some of the categories, like for salaries went to your codes, the respective codes, but the benefits all went into a general account. That won't help, because
Yeah,
we're trying to work it
you
out.
can't do the AFR that way, so they're obviously doing something to do that, because you can't just put it all in one place. You have to break it down into, you know, administration, custodian, you know, things like that, so. And our plan is to break it down that way going forward. It's more work, but like, at the end of the day, that's the way you need to report at the end of the
It
year.
makes the reporting easier.
At the end of the year, yeah, it does, yeah.
And then we'll continue to work with EDOPS with the audit until the audit is wrapped up or finished, then that's when we definitely end that relationship with, EDOPS, but I'm sure going down, just one thing that I'd be reminded about is that with all the ESSA funds being spent or obligated and everything, we're gonna start doing the desk audits, and I probably will have to reach back out to EDOPS, or hopefully all the information they have is all housed in Anyville, that we'll have access to pulling all the documentation. Because the reporting that they've submitted only sent a Gmail, it didn't set up supporting payments and invoices and everything, so that will be put back on the school to pull all that information and just set it up. But I think once the audit is done, we probably work with our relationship, but going forward, we'll be working with Dunn Financials, not only on the financials, reporting, but also on the grants.
And I would recommend, and Dr. Berger and Emily and I have talked about it, is like, you really need to get a full set of documents for everything they've done for you, because it's your data, it's not theirs. When we transition with the school, you know, we can give them a thumb drive with every file we have. Because, you know, you may be able to get answers from them, and I'm not speaking ill of them, but if Darius goes away or someone else, so we really want to, and I can work with you to say, like, these are the bare minimum things that you want to get from them, you know, so.
But we have the QuickBooks file now,
Yes.
so basically the accounting is in-house now.
Well, the payments are done in QuickBooks. Anyville houses all the different supporting documentation. And it was Anyville that I think what they do.
Yeah, so if you want to look at a vendor history, you can't do it in QuickBooks, which is problematic. So,
Yeah, that is.
Yeah. So, and one of the things Emily and I talked about is, you don't want to be paying for any bill for the next 10 years, is there so much, you can get a, you know, a data dump that's, you know, navigable, you know, once this is all over, because you're gonna go back, I mean, you may get audited, but like you may have an IRS, I mean, probably not an IRS one, but, I mean, there will be state audits, I'm positive, you know, so we want to make sure we have access to whatever we want to see the school have to keep paying the fee for any bill, so have to figure that part out.
Okay, then next on the agenda, we want to talk about doing a budget revision after we get our October 1st count. So that'll be on the list of things to do for our next meeting.
It won't be done the next
You
meeting.
probably won't get it.
We won't
But
have
we
enough.
will be working on
Okay.
it and everything.
Okay, and I have a checklist that we had prepared, and it was supposed to be like living document. So that you know when things are coming due. And the reason why I call it a living document is that we started the list, but it's not complete. If we have things we wanna add to it, things that have to be done every year at this time, kind of thing, who's responsible for doing it, and then a check off of, is it done? And so, each meeting I'd like, to go over, have we done the things that need to be done at this point? And, like the, fourth quarter financial reports that are due to the state, were due July 31st. And I assume they're done.
Ed Ops must have submitted quarterly reports.
And then the annual operating budget, we know has been submitted to the board.
That's, just so you know, that's the same document. So
Oh.
they do the fourth quarter, like initial look at the year and the budget are one document that gets submitted to them.
Okay, so that's the kind of thing I'm looking for, so I can combine those two lines and we only have one thing to check off.
Yeah,
Okay. Then update the signature on the bank accounts, and any bill. For new board positions, we just did that tonight. So
I'm sorry, what was that?
Update signatures on bank
I
accounts.
got that.
And it says any, in any bill for newly elected board positions.
Even, because we no longer
We
using.
no longer
any
using any
bill,
bill, so I can
yeah.
scratch that off
Yes.
this list. And I can put that we did this on at the September Finance Committee meeting. Okay. Update our finance checklist, that'll be always. July and August financial committee meeting, establish committee goals, which is later on in our agenda. And then, same thing with, looks like I kinda have the same thing twice.
What was that, the last one, what did you say?
July, August finance committee meeting, establish the committee goals for the new financial, for the new fiscal year. And that line pretty much repeated, so I gotta change that. We have every year around, August the seventh, we have our annual, Secretary of State filing that needs to be done. And, Emily has got that accomplished, so Mark got it done. And then we talked about the annual financial report that's due September 30th. Ed Ops is gonna send that in. And then, adopt our operating budget by September 30th. We've already adopted a budget, an operating budget, so that's done, but we will revise it. Post the budget on the website, that was all done at the end of the school year. Confirm our October student count. It's done October the 1st, so we're right at the point where hasn't happened yet, so we're not gonna check the rest of this list, we're gonna say, okay, we've done everything that's on the list. Is there anything that we need to add to the list that happens every year about this time? Emily, Mike, you wanna go? But like I said, this is a living document. This is so we can keep passing it on to the next group of people who do the finance committee. They don't have to redo this work all the time, no surprises.
I mean, there's a million grant deadlines. If you put it on this page, it would be, 3 or 4 pages long. Maybe there's a way for us to consolidate those somehow. And I don't know them off the top of my head, just that they exist, but
Do we have a master list of all the deadlines or not?
I do.
Maybe we just focus on the ones that month, every month, then? Like if we've completed them, the ones that are due that month, just remove that.
Well, we do do a grants worksheet that, that is reported out on at every finance committee meeting. So I think the grants would be covered under that because, it lists all the grants that have been applied for, any that we've received. What else is that grants worksheet list? It lists, the name of the organization we applied for or submitted it to, if we were awarded it and how much the amount was. And then we have another column if we had a grant that was denied to us.
well, I was referring to federal, so I was referring to private grants.
What about, just so we're aware, like, what is out there, for us to
there is, an LDOE calendar that kind of lists out all the different, deadlines. Like for the month of July, there's a whole lot of, like, implementing the MFP and all of that, which is more what we will do, but what I can do is anything that's board related, where like the quarterly financials that has to be signed by a board member, is to put those things out there.
Right, that, anything that the board is responsible for doing or signing, that's what we're going to make sure we have this list, on this list, so we don't forget to do something.
Because otherwise, for the month of September, it's finalizing all the budgets in EGMS, which is more what we would need to be doing. But there's submitting the AFR, which is the affirmation sheet that would have to be signed, that is definitely a board related, action item.
Karen, can you share that file with me as Em and I meet, daily, and if we have stuff that we need to look through, then I can add it to that, and so that way you will have it, instead of me sending you an email and having to add it. So Emily and I can add on to that.
All right, we'll do. Oh, okay, so I just wanted to put out there, because I know that the 990 reporting is now not going to be due until February 3rd of 2025, because we had a hurricane. We usually watch that for the audit, because if our audit isn't done early enough, then we have to get an extension, and then we want to remember when the 990 is due, to make sure that it's done. But it will be due February 3rd this year.
So that's when it's without any extensions now?
I believe,
That's what it is without any extensions?
which I,
Oh, yeah. But I think the original due date was November 15th, right?
Right.
Yeah, I understand, so there's no one's ready to file it by then, so. Because they're still working on the audits.
they'll be finished by the time, they'll be finished the audit by the time we need it, and they do the tax return with the audit, so it's pretty comfortable right now. Sometimes it gets a little close if they put that extension on there. Okay, next on the, agenda is the development. Do you have any development updates? We don't have
When Ms. E comes on board, she's experienced with grant writing as well. So we're gonna start working on, the different grants that are available, to us, to help, bridge the gap between our budget and our action.
Do you have any upcoming events?
We have our Hispanic Heritage Festival that's coming up on, October 11th. We are also finalizing homecoming, details, and the date for our homecoming is set for November 16th. We also have a number of high school fairs that we've been invited to. I think we are at 6 right now. They include Hines Lakeview, Atlas Academy, Audubon Charter, First Night Schools, and I'm missing a couple. But our teams of folks will go out to those city events, to try to recruit students. We also started our athletics, our girls volleyball team has been playing, and we have a game on Friday, right down the street at Mercolage, 5 o'clock. So please, and join us for the game if you are able to. 5 o'clock, right down the street at Mercolage, Lady Panthers against Abramson. Abramson.
State Street?
Friday.
What is Friday, the 27th? We are looking for a couple of, areas of donation, 2 specifically. One, of course, is our, athletics program. If anybody can donate snacks for us to sell, as concessions, that would be great, because that means that any funding that we get, whatever we sell, will be, revenue for our athletics teams. And we need to have athletics programs, it's very expensive. To not have athletics programs, we will lose a lot of kids. So it's necessary, we just have to figure out how to fund it. The second thing, not to pull from athletics, is, we have a number of students who have been successful on their English, language proficiency assessment. And, we told them if they get a certain score, then we would have gift cards for them. And so I'm working on a document that lists the students' names and a little short 2 to 3 sentence bio on each of them, and how they scored and what their prize would be. So if anybody wants to sponsor a kid for an Amazon gift card, please do so. We have about 14 kids that deserve to be sponsored.
With denomination?
These are English language learners.
No,
No,
dollars.
Oh, dollar amounts. Oh, sorry. I don't know what I thought I heard you say. I think they're $25, $50, and $75.
And can we do it through the website?
So we promised them Amazon gift cards because some of our kids don't have the privilege of going into stores and getting what they want. So we can't purchase Amazon gift cards if you donate through the website.
Oh, so you want us to actually get an Amazon gift card and bring it to the school? Okay,
Yes.
glad that was clear.
When are you trying to do this, guys?
Look at my documents. I am trying to, we want to make sure
And for the snacks right away, so, because the game is on Friday.
And the snacks, you want actual snacks brought to the school or donate money?
Either
one.
Either way, because yeah, you guys donated last year some money, and then I went to the store and got all the stuff for us. So whatever's convenient for you guys, that would be great, so.
What's an average game look like as far as like, how much money should you raise for the snacks?
So I don't know, what we raised last time, I don't have that number, but,
So last time, well, the more snacks we have, the more we're able to, of course, raise. So we had chips and candy and sodas. And,
I wish we would have popcorn, but we don't have popcorn.
no, we do
We
have
all
a
have, we all do nachos.
We can, I mean,
We
if somebody
can,
brought
nachos.
nachos, yeah,
We
we have to
just
provide.
need- yeah.
Do y'all need a popcorn?
Yeah.
So we gotta find you a popcorn machine.
We do.
We have
I
a
just-
popcorn machine.
Oh, you do?
I just,
Yeah.
okay, we do.
Clean it and have it ready. I don't think it's gonna be ready for this particular week.
So my daughter just went to a game, and I was telling, I think it was Miss Emily, I was telling her that it was $2 or $3 for everything, and I told the lady, I'm sorry, how much did you raise tonight? And it was at, Grace King, which is the new Hines or Haynes School, and they raised $800. And so, and people were just donating, families were just donating, and they had popcorn, candy, the sodas, and they did have nachos, but we've never had, have we ever had nachos up here?
We have for events here.
Oh,
But because it's not our gym,
yeah,
so we're borrowing for
but if we
Pilates.
have here, we can raise
So we have
nachos.
to abide by kind of like,
So
what
we
the
use their
rules are.
Yeah, we don't have a gym, so we're using Bricolagis gym, so we'd have to call if nachos is okay for us to do there, I'm not sure, but candy and chips and sodas, yes. Thank you.
For Hispanic Heritage Festival on October 11th, are we seeking or do we have vendors that are going to be there?
So we have not, but, so the students are planning it. So I have to see where they are, in their plans in terms of vendors. They've not brought me any vendors or, any, ideas around vendors, so they haven't, gotten that far yet. So I'll let you know when they let me know.
Next on the agenda is a discussion of future events, and if we need additional planning meetings for those outside of the Finance Development Committee meeting. It was suggested that we might be able to do our community fair like we did last year on April 5th of 2025 this year, right? Okay. And, after the fair last year, we took some notes of how to do it better next year. So that would be part of the community fair planning meeting. And I think it would be better, but y'all, let's have a discussion about it, if we have community fair planning meetings instead of having it at the Finance Development Committee meeting. Already we've run over time. So,
Can it be a ad hoc committee or subcommittee of the development?
yes,
Because last year, we just talked about it, it was like a 2-minute, non-existent update kind of thing, so it wasn't.
it wasn't in depth.
Efficient,
right?
yeah.
So y'all want a separate meeting, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we wanna do like an ad hoc committee or a committee under the finance committee that is a community fair planning committee. I guess we have to vote on that. Can I have a recommendation or a motion that we form a community fair planning committee? Second? Thank you, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Are we still, I know we talked at the last community fair about having something earlier. Are we thinking that's still, because we have new members and stuff, to not just do something in April at the end of the year, but maybe something, maybe it's just.
Are you talking about like another activity?
Yeah, something else like, we have like a lot of holidays coming up, like are we gonna catch any of these holidays and do something
the next thing I had on the list was, to discuss possible other fundraising events that we could have. The group, the AFWA that I belong to, they have a lady that does taekwondo, I think, and she's offered to do some classes here and charge for them, and whatever money she makes that night donated to the school. So I know that would be like something that we just need to schedule, basically. And there's a lot of, everybody's got good ideas, but we haven't had a planning meeting. So, that might be something else we wanna do, just have another fundraising planning meeting where we just talk about fundraising.
Or, I'm sorry, I'm gonna hate you for saying this, or do we separate development and, finance again?
I have thought of that,
It's always.
Usually development was a separate, actual board committee, did its own separate things, but last year we brought it together.
But what my suggestion for that would be to wait till we get our new development director on board and see how she feels about it and how she can help coordinate our fundraising abilities with hers.
Yeah.
And so we'll
She has a
discuss.
lot of energy, so y'all will enjoy that.
Okay, with that, that brings us to our closing items. Our next meeting date is November 27th. No, stop.
It's not,
We changed it.
I know that for sure.
This one, the one that was the next one, third?
It was moved to the fourth, December fourth, yeah.
Okay, you said it was November 19th.
So we had two different dates floating around, yeah, we
Because I
did
wrote
say
down
November
from-
19th, because we, said, I don't remember.
At the
what we
retreat,
said.
I had it down when they were talking about it.
Yeah.
He said
Okay.
it was per se, but because he had prior engagements around that time.
Keep this meeting.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
it pushes it to, yeah.
So it's December fourth.
So it's December fourth.
So the next meeting is December fourth?
Uh-huh, 5:30.
So we have to remember that point, so.
We have one on the 4th and then the 18th.
Okay. Do we have any public comment?
Oh.
Any public comment?
It's great to see you, man.
How about, what?
It's great to see you.
Oh, okay. All right, next I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Any second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank y'all, sorry it took so long.